let's talk about the WNBA. They have made an offer that the players probably best not refuse at this point. It is a sizable offer. It is a step up from what was already a very lucrative offer that was, roughly almost 4 times what they're getting paid right now. Something right around, it was around $1 million a year on a Supermax. Some came out and said it was $850,000. The WNBA is stepping up their game now.
The WNBA has just put an offer on the table that is so massive it could completely rewrite the future of the league. And honestly, it's something nobody has ever seen before. We are talking about salaries absolutely exploding into the stratosphere. For the very first time in the history of women's professional basketball, maximum contracts are designed to blast past the 7-figure mark. Just imagine someone like Caitlin Clark pulling in more than $1 million every single year. But hold on, because there is a huge catch buried inside this proposal that is sparking a major debate among the players. This single deal has the power to reshape the entire landscape of the sport forever. So I've got to ask you to drop a comment right now. Do you believe the WNBA athletes should immediately snatch up this historic pay increase, or is it smarter for them to stand their ground and fight for even more favorable conditions when it comes to revenue sharing? The league just pulled a move that absolutely no one saw coming. They've put forward a brand new CBA proposal that would completely overhaul the financial reality of women's pro hoops. This is not some tiny little percentage bump in paychecks. We are witnessing a full-scale financial transformation. The top salary would officially break the $1 million barrier, and I need you to let that sink in for a second. Pro players in this league could be making over $1 million a year. That has never been on the table before. It's truly a historic moment.
Now officially over $1 million. Now, part of this is, and this is going to be interesting because $1 million or over $1 million sound a lot better 6 weeks ago before the emergence of Project B and actual WNBA players signing with Project B for what has already been, it's already been revealed, a minimum of $2 million. And I can tell you right now, Gumake, Alyssa Thomas, and Jonquel Jones got more than...
We're talking about potentially more than $2 million. But before the celebrations get started, there is so much more we need to break down here. The collective bargaining agreement that was in place before was scheduled to run out on October 3rd. Both the league and the players' union decided on a 30-day pushback to November 30th just to buy everyone a little more time at the negotiating table. This gave them a window to really hammer out what a potential new agreement might look like. And it seems the WNBA took full advantage of that period to put together a deal they believed the athletes would find hard to refuse. Based on the reports coming out, this proposed CBA would kick in for the 2026 season, and it packs in some absolutely monumental pay hikes. For any player with 0 to 2 years of experience in the league, the minimum annual pay would be set at $200,000. That is already a gigantic leap from what we've seen in the past. For athletes with 3 or more years under their belt, the floor for their salary would jump to over. That is more than 4 times the previous minimums. These are not minor adjustments. These are game-changing figures for the everyday players who aren't pulling in the max contracts. Speaking of which, the maximum salary is set to go above $1.1 million for each player. But listen to this critical detail. Several players on the same roster could be earning that top figure. This is a huge departure from the salary structures in other professional sports, where typically only 1 or maybe 2 guys can get that highest possible paycheck. Under this WNBA plan, you could have a whole group of players on one team, all making over $1 million. That is absolutely revolutionary. It means that franchises could genuinely build championship-level teams where numerous superstars are all being paid at the absolute highest tier. And throughout the life of this agreement, all these salary numbers would continue to climb, ensuring that players get steady raises. This is precisely how salary growth is meant to function. Athletes aren't just getting a single bump and then staying flat for several years. They're getting yearly pay increases that actually keep up with the cost of living and the league's expansion. That's the result of responsible talks between labor and management. The effect this would have on someone like Caitlin Clark in particular would be absolutely massive. As one of the premier athletes in the sport, she would be a prime candidate for that maximum salary. She could be taking home over $1 million each year. That's a level of pay that would have sounded like a complete fantasy for a women's basketball player only a handful of years back. The reality that she could hit that number demonstrates just how dramatically things have changed. It proves how much her own star power has forced the league to evolve.
Exciting news just recently about the new offer from the WNBA to the players with a max salary of $1.1 million that goes up each year of the contract, plus a higher league minimum at $220,000. So all really, really good news. Things are trending up in that way. Now, we still have one major problem, at least one major problem. And in all actuality, this is what is stopping the deal from getting done right here. It's in black and white. You can see it. This is what is stopping the deal from getting done.
But here's where things get complicated.
The WNBPA, which acts as the union for the players, has laid out a list of demands that go far beyond just bigger paychecks. They're pushing for charter flights, which means the athletes would be traveling on private aircraft instead of the commercial planes they're using right now. They're asking for improved benefits across the board. They're demanding changes to the size of team rosters. They also want a new prioritization rule that would give athletes significantly more influence over their own schedules and personal time off. These are all incredibly important quality of life improvements.
Issues that go beyond just money.
We know all of that stuff. This is where we got to get to. The November 19th update. Okay? This is what is stopping the agreement.
However, the number one priority for the union is still a revenue-sharing system that is directly connected to the league's financial growth. This is the main event. The union isn't satisfied with just preset salary bumps. They want the players' pay to scale up as the league itself brings in more money. And that makes perfect sense when you stop and consider it. If the entire league is becoming more profitable, shouldn't the athletes who are actually creating that value also get a proportional share of the profits? That is the core of their position. Right now, under the deal that's in place, salaries go up by a fixed 3% every year. That's all. It doesn't matter how much the league's income explodes, the pay only rises by that small percentage annually. The union believes this is deeply unfair. Players are currently taking home roughly 9% of the total revenue the league brings in. Now, compare that to the NBA, where the players get a share that falls between 49 and 51%. The difference is absolutely staggering. The union is making the case that female basketball players deserve a revenue-sharing arrangement that is much closer to what their male counterparts in the NBA receive. The WNBA's latest proposal reportedly sticks with the old fixed-rate model. This means the league is essentially saying yes to groundbreaking salary hikes, but a firm no to sharing revenue based on league expansion. The league's offer is basically, here is a gigantic raise, but it's locked in. You'll receive your annual increase, but it's already decided and won't fluctuate based on how well the league does financially. The union's response is, we appreciate the raise, but we also demand a slice of that expanding pie. This puts the players in an incredibly tough spot. On one side, the salary increases being offered are truly unprecedented. A minimum salary that more than triples for younger athletes is a massive win. Maximums that are more than 5 times larger are enormous. These are raises that can change lives and help build real generational security for players who are making far less money right now. On the other side, turning down the deal to hold out for revenue sharing is a major gamble. What happens if the talks stall? What happens if the league just gets up and leaves the table? The stakes in these talks could not be higher. If a new CBA isn't signed, the league is forbidden from holding its expansion draft. It can't manage free agency. It can't even conduct the 2020. All of those functions are absolutely essential for the league to operate. The season can't go forward as planned without a new agreement. Both parties are feeling immense pressure to get a deal done soon. Otherwise, the 2026 season might be postponed or severely disrupted. They both know the clock is ticking. The final deadline is November 30th. If there's no deal after that date, the league could be heading for a work stoppage. Athletes might go on strike. The season could get pushed back. Neither side wants that to happen, but they're both using that pressure to their advantage in the negotiations. The WNBA is basically arguing, we've given you a historic offer, so you should be happy with it. The union is arguing back, we are worth more than just fixed raise. We are worth a share in the league's success. Now here's where the timing gets really fascinating, because this all comes right after Alessa Tama inked a deal with Project B, which is a women's league backed by Saudi funding. Project B is putting up competitive paychecks and creating very profitable off-season work for WNBA stars. Nneka Ogwumike also signed on with that league. These major signings send a clear message that there are now other options besides the WNBA. The players have choices, and that gives them power in these talks. The WNBA is well aware that if their compensation isn't competitive, their top-tier players might leave for these new leagues. Project B is scheduled to run from November 2026 to April 2027, which perfectly fills the entire offseason. Instead of playing in another country for a few months, athletes could join a professional women's league that compensates them well and gives them a global platform. Project B is dangling big salaries, ownership stakes, and an 11-week international schedule. That is a very appealing package for athletes who want to play year-round at a high level and make serious money. Unrivaled is yet another alternative league that's creating competition for the WNBA. These leagues are proof that the market for women's basketball is expanding beyond just a single entity. Athletes are realizing there are now several paths to earning a good living as a professional. That power is absolutely critical in these CBA times. If the players feel the WNBA isn't valuing them properly, they can now make a credible threat to go play somewhere else. The very fact that the WNBA is making such a huge offer is proof they are taking these other leagues very seriously. The league gets that without competitive pay, they risk losing talent to Project B, Unrivaled, and other leagues that are popping up. This offer of historic salaries is in part the WNBA's answer to this new competitive threat. They are trying to keep their stars satisfied and loyal. From a purely business standpoint, the WNBA's position is understandable. They're effectively saying, we can't commit to tying salaries to revenue right now, but we can give you these huge fixed bumps that will be enough to keep you here. The union's counter is, the league is making money and getting bigger, so we should get a proportional piece of that success. Both arguments are valid. The revenue sharing point is especially strong when you look at where women's basketball is headed. Viewership is climbing, ticket sales are up, media deals are getting more lucrative. The league is undeniably on an upward path. Stars like Caitlin Clark are fueling that success. It's only logical that they should get a proportional benefit from the league's prosperity. The current model, where athletes see only 9% of revenue while NBA players get 50%, feels fundamentally wrong. At the same time, the WNBA's caution makes sense. The league is not nearly as profitable as the NBA yet. Its infrastructure is still developing. The global market is not as mature.
The league could be taking on a huge financial liability by locking itself into a revenue-sharing model that guarantees high percentages to players. If the league ever hits a rough patch, they would be stuck paying massive player salaries regardless of their income. That's likely why they'd rather have fixed increases. For Caitlin Clark, in particular, this whole negotiation is fascinating because she is the face of the league's current boom. The WNBA knows Clark is a major reason for the surge in viewers and interest. They also know that if she's not happy with her pay or the league's future, she could become a major headache. She has the platform to become a leading voice for players demanding revenue sharing. She could push for change in all sorts of other ways. The WNBA likely wants to keep Clark happy, simply to maintain some stability. The timing of this offer is also a big deal. It's happening right as the WNBA is trying to build on the momentum created by stars like Clark, Angel Reese, and others who have brought new energy to the sport. If the WNBA can't get a deal done by the deadline, all that momentum could evaporate. The 2026 season could be thrown into chaos. That would be a disastrous moment for the league, happening just as they are finally breaking into the mainstream and attracting serious investment. The union faces a massive strategic choice. Do they take the deal and lock in the historic raises, or do they hold out for revenue sharing and risk a shutdown? Or do they try to find some middle ground, a compromise that gives them a mix of higher pay and some kind of revenue sharing component? These are incredibly complex choices that the union leadership must navigate with player feedback. What makes it even more complicated is that not every player has the same priorities. Superstars like Caitlin Clark might be focused on raising the maximum salary since they already make good money. Veteran players might be more concerned with raising the minimum salary for their less established teammates.
Younger players might just want to secure their financial future with any raise they can get. The union has to somehow balance all of these competing interests, which is never easy. The rise of leagues like Project B also shifts the entire equation. If the WNBA players turn down this offer and the talks drag on, some athletes might just decide to sign with Project B instead. This would trigger a brain drain, with the WNBA losing some of its best talent to rival competition. That would be terrible for the quality of the league's product and its overall competitiveness. The WNBA is aware of this, which is probably why they're pushing so hard for a fast agreement. In the end, what this negotiation truly signifies is a turning point for women's basketball. The WNBA is proposing compensation that would have seemed completely out of reach just 5 years ago. That is real, tangible progress. The question now is whether the players believe that's enough progress, or if they want to fight for even deeper, more fundamental changes in how they get paid. Both sides have valid points. Both sides are using their leverage well. The final result will almost certainly define the direction of professional women's basketball for the next decade. The mere fact that this conversation is even taking place shows how much the league has grown. A decade ago, the WNBA wasn't discussing revenue sharing. Players weren't fighting for charter flights. Salaries were nowhere near $1 million. The league was simply focused on survival. Now the entire debate has shifted to how to fairly divide the profits from a rapidly growing enterprise. That's a completely different conversation, and it's a sign of genuine advancement for women's sports. The WNBA's offer is groundbreaking, but it's not the complete package. The salary bumps are huge, but revenue sharing is still not on the menu. Caitlin Clark and all the other players now have to figure out if this is good enough, or if they should demand more. If you believe the players should just take this deal, go ahead and smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe for more WNBA news.